Hey, welcome back, guys. Happy Saturday. So it's been a couple of days since the last time I posted a video in regards to the My Favorite LJN tournament. I think about 6 days straight of LJN tournament was more than enough time. As I said, guys, I really wanted to put extra content out in between the tournament videos, so I just didn't want to go 40 straight videos for the first round of the LJN tournament. So every now and then I am going to break out new videos to put out for, especially when it comes to magazines. I still want to do the weekly magazine review. I wanted to put out like 2 or 3 magazine reviews per week, but man, if I can only do one a week, I'm okay with that. At least kind of have that as like an ongoing segment for the channel. And with this tournament, man, we're probably looking at 40 videos for the first round alone. So that means the second round will probably be half, so another 40. Yeah, you're probably looking at 80 videos, man. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. Wow. I think the first time I did this tournament, I think the very first time, I think it was what, 25, 26 videos, 27 videos to complete the first tournament. And I think the second tournament hovered around 40 videos. So getting up to about 80 plus videos for a tournament, that's nuts. At this point, I'm definitely gonna top 600 videos on the channel by time 2024 ends. So that's gonna be a huge accomplishment as far as content output. But with that being said, guys, as always, let's just dive right into the main focus of today's video, which is of course the matchups. And right off the bat, I do have 2 quick names I have drawn. And we are looking at the Outlaw. And who did I say that was? Sorry, I had to sneeze. Alright, where was I? First one drawn was Outlaw Ron Bass. And Ron Bass comes from XOX Customs by Ram Treasures. And he squares off against original Billy Jack Haynes. That's actually a pretty solid matchup. So for a first going match, that's actually a very strong beginning competition. So let me dig deep into this bowl here. Next matchup is going to feature Zeus. I don't know why, but I feel like every single video we make, it's very Random Treasures heavy. I like this matchup. But I would have liked this matchup a lot more if it was actually a matchup that was more evenly distributed. Donald Trump versus Zeus. That one's kind of unfair, but it should still be fun. Alright, all yellow Series 5 Hogan. I know which custom that is. And he will square off against Dynamite Kid from Robert Jackson. And the last matchup is going to feature Nikolai Volkov. Oh, that is a good one. Nikolai Volkov versus the Bearded Kirchner. Alright, so let's go pull those figures. I will be back momentarily. Alright, figures have been pulled. First matchup is going to feature Ron Bass as he does battle against Billy Jack Haynes. So, Billy Jack Haynes. Man, I saw this video recently and it broke my heart. And, I didn't exactly remember all of the names of all of the referees that I watched growing up, right? Now, there were probably, it's like umpires. You think about Joe West and C.B. Buckner and Angel Hernandez, stuff like that, But there's obviously certain umpires that you think about because there's someone that they're constantly around, that they've been managing for decades. And if you're watching a Cubs game, yeah, they're probably going to sit back and they're going to manage a handful of games or more over the course of a season. So you're going to become familiar with those guys. And referees in wrestling, they're the same thing. So guys like who is it? Like Dave, was it Dave or Earl? I can't remember those darn twins, but I think Dave Hebner. Maybe it was Earl, man. I can't remember. Shoot, maybe it was Earl Hebner I'm thinking of. But anyways, one of the Hebner twins. Let's just put it that way. I always remember his face. Probably the only freaking referee I could ever remember, right? And it was until I started collecting a few years back that I finally started kind of getting familiarized with some of the referees. And one of those referees included referee Danny Davis. Danny Davis was a wrestler. He was also a referee. And Danny Davis is synonymous for being a complete jackass that caused Billy Jack Haynes the championship. Billy Jack Haynes actually defeated Macho Man. I believe it was for the Intercontinental Championship. And for whatever reason, in my special 500th episode, I actually had a clip which reflected that victory, but WWF, they freaking copyrighted almost every single freaking clip I put up. And there are certain clips where I went back and actually deleted the clips, and I took like little screenshots. So I kind of made like a little video based on those photographs, kind of showing what happened essentially. So that you were telling a story. And they still copyrighted my video, so that 500th episode doesn't even show up on my channel anymore for copyright purposes, and I'm like, that's effed up. So my 500th episode isn't even my 500th episode. Now my 501 is my official 500th episode, but let's not talk about that, right? But there was actually a clip where it showed that matchup, and Danny Davis, he disqualifies Billy Jack Haynes and awards the belt back to Macho Man. I'm like, that's crazy. And you think about what happened to this man later on in life and the trajectory of his life. I mean, who knows what would have happened, what could have changed. And yes, you can sit there, we can argue all day long about it's written, it's scripted, it's acting as much as anything. That it's not like it was the Olympics and that it was was fraud and whatnot. Got it. I understand that, trust me. But it's still, man, I don't care if you're a kid or adult, it still affects you. You still kind of think about things as if it was an actual event, right? He could have been the new Intercontinental Champion. And like I said, who knows what could have happened? That could have steamrolled him into being the next big thing. Maybe he would have excelled as the Intercontinental Champion and maybe got a push as Heavyweight Champion. Maybe he could have been the next Hogan. Maybe there would have been no need for Lex Luger later on. I mean, maybe that's wishful thinking, especially considering that's literally in the next decade. But still, we've seen guys like Bruno Sammartino. We've seen guys like Bob Backlund and Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart, having multiple years as heavyweight champions, right? So why not? So with that being said, the Billy Jack Haynes figure itself, he's very reminiscent to that of the Nikolai Volkov figure. And the one downside about Nikolai Volkov was that the arms were like in a little bit too much, and the arms were like very thin. The forearms were thin and in too much. But take that away. This to me, I still think this is what either number 11 or number 12 as my all-time favorite LJN figure. Talking about the original LJN figures, no customs, just the original line. I love the figure. I absolutely love the fighting pose of this figure, and some of the graphics, to include the tattoos, incredible. You throw in the accessory, this is a beautiful figure, and he is squaring off against Ron Bass. And here it is. So, when this figure came out from Man of Treasures, I was not excited. I really didn't watch Ron Bass growing up. I had no idea who freaking Ron Bass was. And one of the things that I will always fight for is that I do not care when it comes to my collections. When it comes to these action figures, I do not care if I do not know who the wrestler is. A good action figure is a good action figure. If it is something that looks fantastic, I didn't know Billy Jack Haynes before I started collecting LJN. I will covet the heck out of it. But when I look at this, all I see is Bruno Sammartino. 100%, that is all this is. You chop off the head, you throw on a new head mold, you paint the blue black, and you add on some additional graphics, and bam, you got a brand new character. I mean, I don't even think they even changed up the hands. Yeah, they did. So it looks like, did they? Yeah, I think Bruno Sammartino, his left hand. Alright, fine. So they mirrored it. Whatever, but it's still a Bruno Sammartino figure to me. So yeah, when I look at it, looks great, sure. Bruno Sammartino in general, I mean aesthetically, for play wise, it does. It's like a junkyard dog. Based on the crouch, the arm positioning, it's still high enough up. The arms are still high enough where you could still do your clothesline and punches and everything. Theoretically, it should be a very fun and enjoyable playable figure, but I guess it's the grip. The Junkyard Dog, the only bad thing about it was the grip of the figure. It just didn't feel comfortable. And I kind of feel the same way about Bruno Sammartino, and same thing about the Ron Bass figure. So I guess because I keep seeing Bruno Sammartino when I pick up the Ron Bass, at the end of the day, I've always said that this was a bad figure. I mean, it really isn't bad. It's just that, again, I see Bruno. So I've never been able to enjoy this. And this was another one of those figures where I just was not excited to run immediately to the website to pick it up. And I think this was a was this a tournament? Not a tournament one. When was doing his drawings by the figure and be put into competition for a free figure, which I think some of that stuff is I don't know. I kind of feel like it's already predetermined sometimes, but I could be wrong. But I kind of feel a certain way about it sometimes. But and I think that's the only reason I kind of jumped on it as soon as I did. Otherwise, I feel like this would have been something I would have held off on. What was another one? Was the Volume 2 Rick Rude. I'm wondering if that was another one that I kind of rushed on it because of that type of competition thing. Because of the drawing. But, no. To me, no brainer. I like the Billy Jack Haynes figure so much better. Look I like better. Colors, I mean, it's more flashy. I mean, don't get me wrong. Black and gray are my colors. When I'm wearing colors, yeah, I like dark. So, you'll never see me in this mustard stuff, right? But, yeah, it's just play pose. Very few figures from the original LJN line surpass Billy Jack Haynes. So, To me, it's a absolute no-brainer choice. And we're 15 minutes in and we're only at the first match, so it goes to show you that that was actually a much more difficult choice than I initially thought it would be. Next one up, not a difficult choice at all, but we're still going to spend some time talking about it. We're going to feature Donald Trump as he does battle against Zeus. I understand the utilization of a Mean Gene Okerlund whenever you want to create guys like Donald Trump and Jack Tunney, etc. Or if you want to create like Lord Alfred Hayes, etc. Or Howard Finkel's another one that I have where they utilize a Mean Gene Okerlund. But sometimes the suit is really the only thing that really meshes for Donald Trump. The head looks kind of weird. It's fine. It wasn't exactly the most expensive figure in the world. Donald Trump, I think, is a little bit heavier, so obviously I would have liked a little bit more of a plump figure. But could you imagine if somebody used like a Lou Albano for freaking Donald Trump? Then I would have been like, no, let's not. So I'm okay with them using Mean Gene. I don't know how tall Donald Trump is in real life, but I would assume much more taller than Mean Gene Okerlund is. The Big Don, I don't know how. When I did the My Favorite Manager tournament, I think he was a second rounder at least, maybe a third rounder, but I think he did, adequately. Like I said, even a second round appearance I think would be pretty solid. And we already know, man, my affection for Zeus. This is one of those figures. I think I got this back in May of 2022. I'm just estimating. And does that sound about right? May 2023 doesn't sound right. May 2023 seems like it's too late. Yeah, I think around May 2022 sounds about right. Because when I created my channel in February and I started posting in March. And I think I finished my first tournament at the end of March or early April. So yeah, this was like one of those figures that I got in and like had to immediately come downstairs and make a video about it. I was that excited, and it had been a long time between getting Zeus in and getting another Random Treasures figure in, where I was so impatient I had to rush downstairs immediately to make a video about it. And I can't even remember the last time, the next figure that I did that for. Off the top of my head, Crush? No, it wasn't Crush. I can't even remember, man. It wasn't Abdullah the Butcher. But it had been a while. And when I did, the last tournament I made was the My Favorite Random Treasures tournament. And there were quite a number of figures I thought had a legitimate chance of winning that tournament. Jerry Lawler was up there. Abdullah the Butcher was definitely up there. I thought strong, extremely strong possibility Dusty Rhodes could have won. But at the end of the day, I think Zeus was an absolute no-brainer. Zeus, obviously the best Random Treasures figure ever made. Zeus is going to run circles around the Donald Trump figure. That's not even a question. When I talk about figures that have a legitimate shot at unearthing or unseating the Bruiser Brody figure, Zeus may not have won. I don't think he wasn't part of the first tournament, but he was part of the second one. He may not have won that tournament, but don't get me wrong. This still has a strong potential to be a candidate to unseat him. Things could be different. What I feel about a figure then cannot, and what I feel about it now could be extremely different, right? So this is a beautiful figure. I love the glossiness, and what I talk about in the Bruiser Brody figure. All right, fighting pose, excellent. Kind of like a Arn Anderson, so not perfect, but it's still good. Accessory, name recognition, colors and detail. fantastic. And he looks just like Tiny Lister too. So, No Holds Barred, my favorite wrestling movie of all time. So, hey, why not? Zeus is going to defeat Donald Trump. This next matchup is actually a pretty interesting one. It's going to feature Dynamite Kid against Hulk Hogan. So, I have countless Series 5 Hulk Hogan figures in this tournament. And when I say Series 5 Hogans, obviously I'm talking about this. When we look at the original Hulk Hogan line, you look at both white shirt or red shirt Hulk Hogan. There are a couple of yellow trunks, red shirt Hulk Hogan customs I have. But because they're repaints to look like the original, I did not include those two in this tournament because, again, they're just mimicking the original figure. So, but with all the other customs, like 7 or 8 different Hulk Hogan figures like this, you really didn't need to add those 2 extra in there. I don't know. There's just so many. I like the fact that with the red and yellow, I like the offset dual colored figures, but this is what I remember, man. Hulk Hogan in yellow trunks, coming down the aisle, getting in the ring with his yellow shirt, and just ripping that thing, man. As a kid, I was not strong enough, obviously. I don't know what I was doing. If I had a knife or scissors, I'm assuming I got scissors. I used to have my white t-shirts, and I used to cut like little small holes in my t-shirt. I put like little, and I'd sit there and dig in. And what a freaking idiot! I don't know how many white t-shirts I ruined doing that, but I don't remember ever getting in trouble for that. So like, I don't know if my mom even realized that I was destroying my shirts. I mean, maybe I did get yelled at. I don't know. I don't remember, but. But I remember I used to do that. I used to take scissors and cut little small holes in my shirt so I could imitate Hulk Hogan. And I thought that was, because I was the Hulkster. I was a Hulkamaniac. Still love the figure. And when it comes to commemorative pieces, this is a beauty. I think the overall value and design of the Series 5 as a commemorative piece, it serves its purpose for display and for commemoration. When you're looking at a playable go-to figure, this is not the one you want to go to. It's always going to be the Series 1 Hogan. That is the beauty. That is the enjoyable figure. And plus, I've always said before, if you've got a Series 1 Hogan on hand and you've got like a regular white or red shirt Hogan on hand, even if it's got massive paint loss, don't play with that. I mean, that's like even with paint loss, you're still looking at like $100 figure compared to a $10 Series 1 figure, right? So you never want to ruin or damage or risk damaging further a Series 5 figure. Dynamite Kid. I had no idea who Dynamite Kid was. I've never heard of the name Dynamite Kid until I started collecting LJNs back at the tail end of 2021. And ever since I've become a fan of the LJNs, started collecting LJNs, this is one of those guys that I've become a huge fan of. He would blend in beautifully with today's modern day wrestlers, with the acrobatics and different maneuvering. I think if he were like tag teaming with, like, let's say Marty Jannetty, if he didn't have the health issues, the injuries that he sustained while tag teaming with Davey Boy, and Shawn Michaels obviously broke from the Rockers and wanted to go for the singles run. Obviously, I think Davey Boy would work best as a singles wrestler. I think Shawn Michaels worked best as a singles wrestler. I think Marty Jannetty and Dynamite Kid would have been a beautiful tag team together. I think those guys could have been multiple-time tag team champions. It's a shame the Rockers with Marty and Shawn couldn't complete the task. That right there is a damn huge freaking shame, but I could have only imagined those two being together. The Rockers, I always said, in and out, tagging in and out, the way that they were so in sync with one another. Davey Boy and Dynamite Kid, same thing. And then you kind of see Davey Boy and Dynamite in Japan wrestling against each other. One with the blue pants, the other with the white pants. It was just a really fun to see tag team partners kind of square off against each other like that while wrestling in a foreign land and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. The British Bulldogs. I'm not as much of a fan of the British Bulldogs LJNs as most out there. I don't mind the figures. I don't think they're the worst things ever. I just don't think that they're elite figures. I think a lot of fans, a lot of people whose videos I watch, that they say that they had British Bulldogs and they used the heck out of them as kids. I don't see it. Like, to me, they are jump from the top rope, flying clothesline type guys only, or one arm under body slam guys. I just don't think the overall pose. And you look at like Ram Treasures with the Bad News Brown with one arm up, it kind of ruins the figure for me because of that. They do serve a purpose. Are they like 50 out of 80 bad or 60 out of 80 bad? No, they're probably in the 40s. So they're mid-level figures at best for me. They could be worse, but I am actually going to surprise some folks, and I'm going to choose Dynamite Kid. I'm going to choose Dynamite Kid for a couple of reasons. Namely, I like the fact that Rob, what he did with these particular figures. I forget this stupid thing off. I like what he did with the design of the white pants. And if you kind of look at what big rubber guys have come out with recently, you're looking at roughly this exact same design. So, Rob, he came out with this design probably a good year or so before big rubber guys. And it's not like this is unique or anything. This is something that these guys wore in real life. And that's what it's all about, is coming up with an outfit design that a wrestler wore in real life. So that's one thing. I like the graphics. I like the time and the technique and skill it took into painting something like this, right? Also, there are so many Series 5 variants of Hulk Hogan in this tournament that I just don't see this one going very far. Playable figure wise, at least the British Bulldogs are a more enjoyable, I would say. They can be better utilized as playable figures than this variant, so that also played a huge role, and probably played the biggest role, as a matter of fact, because this is a really good, paint as well. This is actually pristine work, so I don't think there's really a wrong answer in that choice. I think it could have gone either way, but for right now, I think Dynamite Kid for me is the right choice. A last matchup, and we are almost at 30 minutes, so this video is probably going to go about 35 plus minutes. It's going to feature Corporal Kirchner as he does battle against Nikolai Volkov. So I do have all of Corporal Kirchner's, stubble, clean, bearded. The bearded Corporal Kirchner I had on display, I think I got that one from Random Treasures. It's an original Corporal Kirchner figure that she just repainted for me. And this one I just pulled off the shelf because this actually is an original Corporal Kirchner. But he comes with his flaws, destroyed nose and paint loss and everything. So Yes, I mean this one. I actually listed this on my account. I have no intention on selling it. That's why I listed it so high. I think it's more like, hey, if somebody is willing to pay that price, then yeah, I'll get rid of it. But it was so freaking difficult to find an original Corporal Kirchner. I would have loved to have one in better condition, but one is better than the other, or better than none. So, Nikolai Volkov. I have talked about this figure so much on my channel since the inception of the Waddy's channel. And I really got to learn how to change the name of my YouTube channel because it still says Matt Watson, obviously. So I've been calling it Waddy's channel, but I don't know how to change that. Eventually, one day, I'll learn. But 2021, I started selling on eBay. And I was selling all my military gear. I was making a ton of money doing that. And for the first time ever, for the first time in probably a decade and a half, I started buying stuff for myself. Wasn't being frugal, wasn't hoarding my money or nothing. I was finally spending my money and buying stuff for myself, or spending money on myself, and that included getting, like, I was picking up Power Ranger toys just because I had a Power Ranger collection, and I started finding like these random Lightning collection and Legacy figures. I'm like, you know what? Let me tack onto that collection just because. And of course, I always wanted the Hasbro figures. And when I started collecting wrestling, I wanted to get some LJNs because I figured they'd be really valuable. A lot of people would collect them, and maybe I could like resell them or something. I bought Nikolai Volkov for cheap. Thought maybe I could turn him for a profit. Got the darn figure in, held him in my hand. Son of a bitch, you got me. Freaking LJN, they got me. One figure is all it took, and I became obsessed. Because this was an absolutely fantastic figure. And for the longest time, my number 4 all-time favorite figure from LJN. Until my... Or was he higher? No, I think I had him at number 4. I think I had Junkyard Dog at like number 5 for the longest time. And then, of course, as my collection expanded, I mean, they fell further and further down the list. But like Hulk Hogan Series 1, Andre the Giant Series 1, Big John Studd. 1, 2, 3, however you wanted to put them. Those were always top 3. But fantastic figure, great look, character I kind of remember. I kind of remember better as member of Money Incorporated. So seeing him as this member, as Nikolai Volkov, I'm like, heck yeah. And what I just mentioned earlier with the Billy Jack Haynes, with the very small forearms, right? And then how they're inward. I don't like that part. That kind of ruins it. It's extra small in that respect. So it doesn't give you like the Hulk Hogan arms out with the better punches and whatnot. But it's such a serviceable, useful figure where you could sit there and throw really good punches and give you that body slam that you covet. And just clotheslines, okay? It's a solid, playable wrestling action figure. And that is what you're coveting. Now, other downside. He's got like these big, broad shoulders and this big hump back. And I don't like that. I mean, did he have that in real life? Probably. Maybe. Plus, Nikolai Volkov is like one of the most customized figures in the world. Nikolai Volkov is probably like number 1, 2, or 3 most customized figure. Hillbilly Jim, Jesse Ventura. Those 3 figures are constantly being customized left and right. Roddy Piper is always being customized, but usually it's being like repainted. Not necessarily being turned into someone else. Hogan gets customized. Junkyard Dog, Brutus Beefcake, they all get customized, but again, it's usually repaints. Nikolai Volkov, you turn him into like Goldust, for example, or something like that, right? So they get turned into different characters. As a former Army man, obviously I love the Army getup. Corporal Kirchner, his arm might be a little bit back, but it does give you kind of like that strong Greg Valentine-ish type pose a little bit, just flipped a little bit. These are both enjoyable figures. I mean, you can sit there and have a solid one-on-one match and have a lot of fun with this. If you were sitting in a cell and you wanted to sit there and have yourself a little hour match, you can sit there and get a kick out of this for an hour. These are two really awesome pieces. And the thing is, it's a difficult choice. There isn't a wrong answer here. There are other Corporal Kirchners in this tournament. They're all customs, obviously. Do any of those customs, do I hold them all any in greater value or greater esteem than I do the original? And I don't think so. I think I appreciate the original better than any of the customs. So that's one thing. There is a nickel and dime who I probably do like a little bit better than the original. But that shouldn't. See, those do impact my decision a little bit. But I think that should be like a very final end-all be-all type of decision, and it shouldn't be like something I'm looking at the very beginning, because right now I don't have an answer. You would think something like this would not be a difficult choice, but it is. These are two great figures. I mean, is this Hogan versus Warrior hard in making a selection? Yeah. Are either one of these going to win my tournament? No. Are either one of these capable of going extremely far in the tournament? Absolutely. Are they capable of exerting a lot of damage and going very far and eliminating great figures from this tournament? Of course. Because of history, I guess, because of what this particular figure meant, this figure is the reason I started collecting LJNs. I think that's what it boiled down to. Not just started collecting LJNs to sell, but starting collecting LJNs for me. So, I mean, if I had picked up any other figure, like if I had picked up an Elizabeth figure, would have I held that Elizabeth figure in my hand and felt the same way? Even if I didn't at that particular moment, I'm sure I would have picked up other LJNs over the course of my life. I mean, look at this collection. When I first started collecting, the intention was Hasbro's. Maybe Galoob's because I had them. I didn't expect to have Remco's. Jakks Pacific everything, because Jakks Pacific has like a million different things. IWA bootleg figures and all these other different bootlegs. Original San Francisco. Okay. Mattel Superstars and all these other different Mattel line figures. Retros. I looked at retros. I had no interest in retros. I mean, I thought they were very close to Hasbro. I'm like, okay, maybe I might want them, but they weren't close enough. So at first, I had no interest in retros either. Eventually, yeah, they became part of the collection because I went for everything. This was a hard selection. I'm sad to lose Corporal Kirchner. I do have Corporal Kirchner customs left over in tournament, but I think it was very important for me to keep Nikolai Volkov going in this tournament. Is he a second round elimination? Maybe. He could make it to the 5th or 6th round. With these drawings, you just never know. So, alright guys, that is it for this video. And sorry for the extra long video, 40 minutes this time. But hopefully this was a really good one for you guys. And sometimes when you run into these videos where you can't make a decision, they're really gonna take their time, and the time is really gonna jump up on you. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I guess until tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.